When we created Black Players for Change, we always talked about radical transparency. And that's because we felt people weren't straight for us, you know? Like they weren't telling us how it really is. It's an opportunity, you know? It's people revealing how they truly feel.
If the expectation is that you can't make mistakes, you're not going to say something wrong, then we're literally never going to grow. We're going to stay stagnant. Those who are putting these glass ceilings in place, purposely or not, will maintain their position if we can't figure out how to progress forward.
Personally, like, dang, this is a pretty dope movement that y'all have going on. Like, I think that it came out really good. I just felt like it was a big sense of togetherness.
When you first joined the league, this wasn't an option for you. There wasn't this kind of community, and now you see there's rookies or second-year players who are experiencing this. You realize the ability for them to be outspoken now and not have those fears to speak their mind and say what they feel, and all those worries kind of go to a side and they can focus on playing.
Coming together at MLS Cup feels like a good time to be here. There's a lot to celebrate. What do you guys remember from your MLS Cup days?
Just like the city being behind you, to be able to play a championship in your home stadium, there's good energy.
I think about what MLS was when we were coming through the system and just all the experiences you get playing the game, all the different places you end up going, all the ups, a lot of the downs go into who you become as a person as time goes on.
That's why I'm so excited for Black Players for Change too, because this is going to be something that we pass on to the generation. I think a lot of us didn't have people really looking out for us, you know?
No, that's fair. We were guided, right? But we didn't have a voice. You weren't brave enough to say something that might cost you your career, you know, your salary. You can't take care of your family, so it was that fear as well.
BPC is now a thing, bringing people together, saying, hey, you know, maybe there wasn't quite the specific space for you before, but it's here now. So come join with us and celebrate in the way that you celebrate, you know? It was needed in year 1 of MLS. Here we are in year 26, and it's finally a real thing. And they're putting in real groundwork with a focus on Black culture. I'm all about swag, energy, you know, fits, 3 stripes down. I'm all into that energy. So the more I see, the more I feel engaged, the more I want to go out, the more I want to fly to Portland for an event like this.
In other sports, I think we've become more accustomed to seeing Black players speaking out. It seems like in soccer, especially through the last couple of years, through what you guys have done through the work, it's almost like a cultural shift. It's not surprising when Black players speak up, or when they organize, or when they, you know, create progress or create change.
I think the thing that's most difficult is telling people the right way to do something, the right way. You know, what's the right way to protest? What's the right way to speak out against injustice? Like, that's what protest is. There's no real right way to do it. If it gets your attention, then there's something to that.
I want to know from the outside what it was like watching when Black Players for Change announced ourselves.
Because of everything that was going on, you guys were all together in one place. Watching you guys walk out onto the pitch before that Orlando game, all together, and then even with like the coaches and staff and everything like that, I was like, damn, these guys are really doing it.
We're all in a competitive environment. All the teams are like, you're kind of friends, but you're still very competitive. And it was like something that was bigger than all of us and bigger than the groups. And we were all crammed in a hotel together in Florida. So it was pretty cool to like just have everyone on board with the same thing. It was pretty powerful, and it made notice and news all over the world. So
I remember we were like celebrating after, like we had won something. You know, everybody was like giving each other high fives and stuff. I was like, this is a feeling like unlike any other.
We knew we needed it, we wanted it, but we also understood that it wasn't allowed before. Many guys have families and people that rely on them, that they have to think about every time they're gonna take a risk to say something.
I remember when we first got together, there was a player whose club didn't like that he was going to the protests, and asked him, like, hey, can you stop going to the protests? And he felt offended by that. Maybe before Black Players for Change existed, he wouldn't have anywhere to go with that. That was a big, powerful moment for us, because that was early. That was like one of our first or second calls, and we were like, okay, this is what we could be. You know, we could be a sounding board for guys. We can call teams if we need to. Like, we can be whatever we need to be in the moment for guys. And I think that's how we build it, you know, really flexible.
So I grew up playing soccer, and then I was big on basketball too. In high school, kind of got to a point where I had to choose between basketball and soccer, because the head coach was like, look, like, I had braids back in the day. He was like, you got to cut your hair. Hair was who I was. That was a big part of me, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, I don't understand why I have to do that just to, you know, play basketball. If you think I'm good enough to play basketball, that should be good enough. I end up taking my own route and sticking with soccer, because I was like, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stick with soccer, and ended up being the best decision I could have made. Ultimately, yeah, and it's got me to this point now.
Yeah. I remember when I met you, We were in national team camp together.
Yeah, I remember.
And I had never met anyone that played soccer from where you're from.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what Black Players for Change is trying to get at. You know, we're trying to open it up.
When was your first black coach, first black head coach? No?
Never had them.
For real.
No?
I had Dennis Hamlet. He was the first black head coach in MLS. He coached me in Chicago.
And you see Ezra just getting hired in Chicago, that was really big. And I think it's coming. As I speak to more coaches, as I speak to more presidents and team owners, I think they're beginning to understand the importance of it. It's slow at the moment, you know, it's like a slow drip, but I think in 5 years, 10 years time, we're really gonna see the effort of all of our work. But you must have an interesting view too, coming from England.
Yeah, it's different. There's racism in England, but it's different. I never really experienced it as much growing up. You know, I was one of 3 black people in my school. And then when I came to America, people would be like, "You're not black." And I was just like, "What do you mean?" And then like my grandparents from Jamaica, like my dad's black, mom's white. And then over time, I realized that it was like there was a different perception per se in America than there was in England. That's a good point about your hair. When I was on the national team and switched nationalities to the US, it was important for me to get my hair braided so people recognized me as a black player. It was like I was more proud to say I was black in America.
My dad is Aboriginal Australian. I always kind of understood my heritage and personal kind of backstory and culture, but it was always removed because I was grew up with my mom who's white in California, and so getting back in touch with my dad's side, and I went to visit Australia, and getting to understand that history was really important for me. But I think from a soccer perspective, I was always kind of everyone was like, "What? I can't even guess what you are." And then when I would explain it to them, they'd be like, "All right, what's that?" And I was like, "Okay, look it up, Google it." But just understanding where you come from is so important.
I've always had kind of a personal relationship with Sean, right? I just feel so proud of him, so excited for him, and so ready for him to get the ultimate prize, to win MLS Cup. Today is the day. It's going down. It's going to happen. Mark my words. We will bring in. I brought an extra bag to carry this W back to New York.
Okay.
Watch.
He's ready.
Watch.
He's ready.
Watch.
I played with Sean when he was a rookie in Chicago, so it's been cool for me to see his progression with the national team and just consistency. So it's not surprising for me to see that he would kind of lead this franchise to new heights.
It's been amazing to see how Sean has navigated this year because he's been in with the national team so much. New York City, he's their captain, you know, he's such a big player on their team. He's still showing up to Zoom calls. You know, he was a big part of us being here tonight. So it just speaks to the commitment that guys have for Black Players for Change, and I'm just really happy for him.
MLS Cup champion, MLS Cup MVP. How you feeling, man?
It feels unreal, you know. It's crazy to think 12 years ago I was just starting out, 20 years old, and it's taken me this long to lift the cup, but every year has been worth it, and I'm just happy to be a champion.
We saw all the BBC guys crash you after the whistle. What does it mean to have their support and to have this moment to celebrate?
Yeah, to look back, when we first came together, there was a lot of things going on in our country at the time. We leaned on each other then, and now coming full circle to have everybody here to celebrate a good moment, being together, it means the world to have my brothers next to me celebrating.
I think we're just beginning to see the fruits of our labor. You know, there's a long way to go from here, but we're all in for this fight together, and it's been the joy of my life. So I appreciate you guys. Let's keep it up. Look for that. Cheers.
You wrote that last night, didn't you? You wrote that last night, bro.